Hello and welcome back to the very faded red Skoda Favorit, in Danish called Skramle, and that's something we call this kind of sound. There are some issues that I'm going to attempt to fix. One thing is there is no light on the dash. Nothing is lighting up except the battery and the oil lamp, but no indicator lamps on anything. Oh, it shuts the light off when you push the button. So I was probably riding around without lights on the other day. Anyway, that I need to fix. The instrument cluster needs to come out and I need to change the bulbs, or maybe it's a fuse, I don't know. But I need to take it out anyway because the odometer is not working. The speedo is working, but not the odometer. So that I want to fix. Then I'm going to take a look at the gear shifter mechanism because it's very sloppy. I doubt I can fix anything on that because I don't have any bushings or anything. Yeah, I'm just gonna have to see. And then there is an issue with the brakes, because when I push the brakes and come to a stop and then let go of the pedal, it doesn't really let go of the brakes. Not at first, at least. It takes around a second or maybe more sometimes, and then it lets go, and then everything is fine. So something is binding up. I was hoping that it was going to be the pedal, but it is not the pedal. So I have a strong feeling that the brake master cylinder is defective, or on its way out at least. It either needs a rebuild or a replacement. But firstly, I'm going to tackle that instrument cluster, so I'm going to try to remove that. Someone has been using a little bit of glue, probably because it's rattly. But removing stuff like this is always a daunting task because it's old, brittle plastic. And then there are 3 screws down here that I need to undo in order to remove the surround of fascia. But before I start messing around with all the wires in there, I'm just gonna undo the battery. There we go. This is really the wrong day to have no more red shirts, because I normally almost all the time work in a red t-shirt. And everything is red today except my t-shirt. Really sorry about that. Oh, I missed one. The Haynes said there would only be 4. There we go. The front fascia is off. Then I can remove the screws up here. Now I need to go in from the side probably to undo the speedometer cable, which is always a bit too short to make it comfortable, and pull out like that. And then I'm just going to unplug everything. There we go. It's out. Let's go to the workbench with this. I need to change a lot of bulbs back here for the backlighting. Most of the warning lamps are working just fine, so I'm not going to change them. I'm only going to change those who are blown, because the indicator, for instance, is not being used that much, so it's probably fine. But firstly, I want to get to that odometer to figure out if I can fix that. I do have a replacement that I can put in if needed, but it would be fun to just fix this. And as mentioned, it's not the cable almost all the time when the speedometer is not working, it's the cable. But in this instance, the speedometer is actually working, it's just the odometer that's not working. I wonder what the deal is with all this tape up here. Is it original? That would surprise me, but it could be rattly plastic that someone lost their mind listening to, and therefore removing it. So I'll probably just put some new tape on to avoid that from happening. Ooh, there we go. It would really be nice to get this off without snapping anything. And that's not easy. There we go, I'm in. Then it's this, it's gotta be maybe that bolt. There we go. Oh, it is out. And you know what, straight away I can see why it's not working. Notice the gear right there? It's not meshing with the nylon bushing in there, and it's actually adjustable by that blue screw. It doesn't look broken. Let me just find the spare one that I have. As you can see, the spare one, as you can see on the spare one, it's way more meshed in. So I think I can just adjust the original one and put that back in. The spare one got a orange needle, so it wouldn't really fit in because this is no longer orange. I think I'm gonna fix the one already in there. If I just undo that one. Oh, it wasn't that tight either. And then just mesh them together like so, and then tighten it up. Giving it a good tight like that. And let's see what happens. I'm waiting on the red number to become a number 2, which will take some time because we're not driving that quickly right now. Yeah, it is coming. Whoop whoop. But as mentioned, they have tried to keep track of the amount of miles, so I think I'm just going to see if I can alter by moving only this one. I'm not trying to cheat anyone, it's just this car, the odometer is showing less than the car has driven, so we're going to put it up there, but it will take a long time. Wonder if I can... Have you ever heard about winding up the numbers the other way? That's a big business on the black market, but this way seems a bit weird. So the owner of the Favorit just came by, and I asked them what they would like it to be on, and they calculated a bit and actually decided on 175, which I'm very happy about because this has been time consuming. So I'm almost there. So there we go, 175,000. And of course it's not precise, but it's better than doing nothing. That should be ready now to go back in the car, or the cluster at least. And this one back on. And then I'm going to replace that tape because it's probably there for a reason. I guess it's put on because of rattliness. I think it's not original, but I don't know. All I know is that I'm going to put it back on just in case that it becomes a big rattly problem. Now it's time to change all the blown bulbs. Yes, it would be nice to change all of them, but they are actually quite expensive. And to be honest, some of these doesn't see a lot of action. And I have depleted my local source for these, so I don't have to change, so I don't have enough to change all of them. So it's my call, but I'm not going to change all of them. And Anna and Jakob, if you hear this, and I think you probably will, then if something blows in the future, then you can just swing by and I will replace them. So I'm just going to continue on replacing bulbs in everything, and then I'll take you back in a minute when I'm done doing that, and hopefully everything works. So there we go, everything is back together, and if I put the car in ignition, we have light in everything. There's light in all the buttons, there's light in the fan, there's light in all of these except the lower one. And that's because there's no connector for it back there. There is absolutely nothing to connect that to, but the entire switch is there. But everything seems to work. And I think that worked also before, but the indicator, the long lights and all that is working. I have changed a lot of bulbs. This light up here is also working, and when the door shuts, it switches off, and yeah, everything is nice. So that is the first problem fixed. The next thing I'm going to look at is the heater, because it's stuck at hot all the time. And I think I know where the problem is, but I'm not sure that I can fix it. And to access the valve, I need to remove the battery. Whoops. This down here is the valve. I honestly think it's going to be a little bit difficult to film. Right in there is the valve. And when I change the setting, it should move, but I don't think it's not. But I don't really think it's moving. Well, it actually is moving. So that was cold, and this is hot. So I'm just moving it backward and forward for a bit, and then I'm going to see if it actually closes off completely, or get to the closing position when I pull it. Yeah, it is closing all the way. So it should work unless the actual valve is faulty. Okay, so with the car heated up and the fan system, heating system set to cold as possible, it is showing 48. So it's not really working out. But something is happening, because if I put it to hot, right over there, the temperature is rising up. Yeah, it's falling. On this setting, it's slowly falling down, but still very hot. And if I put it up again, it will go the other way and heat up very slowly. So I'm concluding that the valve is leaking. It's still opening and shutting as it is supposed to, but it's leaking. It needs another valve, I'm pretty sure of it. So there's nothing I can do about that right now. Next up, it's the brakes. I have a feeling that the brake master is draggy. They gave me another one that is used, but not very used, so hopefully I can swap it with that. But I would like to at least try to verify that the problem is actually the master. So I'm going to remove it and see if it drags. I did check the pedal, and the pedal is completely free to move. So, well, that's pretty ready for a fluid change. That is looking nasty. I need to cut that last one, because if I don't, it will just spin the pipe and destroying it. But it seems to be long enough for me to make a new flange right there, so it would be okay. There we go. There we go. It's out. So with the old one in the bench, it's quite clear to me what happened. I can try to show you, but I think because it's now empty and there's no pressure in the system, I'm not able to replicate it. But when pushing it down and releasing it, it snags right there. You can hear it maybe. It snatches on that area there, right there. That is where I think it gets stuck sometimes. The thing is that Jakob actually got a brand new of these back in Sweden, but they are on vacation this week on Funen, and they would like to get it fixed now. They actually found this on the island of Fyn. It is supposed to be only a couple of 1,000 kilometers old, but it is used, of course. But while testing it, I don't feel the same. So I hope this will be okay. So I'm just going to put that in, and then I'm going to go for a test drive and see, because it did happen quite often on my previous test ride. So if it doesn't happen now, then I think we got it fixed. So I'm just going to go ahead and fit that to the car. I'm just going to make a new nibble on the brake line firstly, and then fit it. And then hopefully the brake issue will be fixed. So the new one is back in, and all I need to do is to pressurize that and bleed all four corners. And the only thing I have to not do is to snap any of the bleed nibbles. Come on, Skoda, did you use another size for this? But you're not allowed to do that. It needs to be the same. So I managed to use the old cap to make something that I can pressurize the reservoir with. And now I'm gonna bleed the system. I'm gonna do that off camera unless I break a nibble, then we will be back. But I'm just gonna do that really quick off camera, and then hopefully the brakes are good. So that is the brakes done, hopefully. Still need to do a test drive, of course. But the last thing on my list is a sloppy gear change. So regarding the shifter mechanism, I think that this is going to be a problem. That is probably the issue that we are having. I do not know if I'm able to fix it though, because it could need parts, but I'm just going to try to take this off, this nut. That will probably snap, and then I will try to see if I can make it a bit more snug somehow. Which is going to involve a snap bolt, which I was expecting. Okay, so I'm back from the local shops, and I found these bushings that doesn't fit. But I think I'm just gonna wrap them with some Teflon tape until they fit and press them in, and then use that. Spinning on a lot of this white tape until it fits. I think we're getting there. I can actually use the remedies of the old bushing inside of there to push this in, but it's too long, so I'm just going to cut this down, and then the other one with the tape is going from the other side. There we go, that's a snug fit. That's nice. And then the one with the tape on. So now we're getting there. Yeah, that will do. And then I'm going to use this bolt to go through, and then with two nuts on one side I can lock it, because this one doesn't have a shoulder like the old one that snapped off. So if I just tighten it up, it will clamp, and that is not what I'm trying to achieve. So of course it would be best if there were no thread on this, but there is. I'm going to grease it up though. And then take this gear shifter mechanism up, and then hopefully and then I need a good big washer on this side and the double lug nut like so. And then I'm gonna snug it up so that it is close to being tight, but not all the way tight. I think that's about it, and then loosen it up a bit. And then put the lock nut on there. Yeah, it's a bit. Yeah, it's not getting a lot of thread, but I think, yeah, it's moving, everything's fine, and there is absolutely no play in it. I think it's time for a test drive. This is definitely a very big improvement. Okay, it's time for a test drive to see if the brakes are working all right. And the gear. Ooh, that is a lot different already. That is nice. So if all gears are still there, then it's really nice. I think I'm gonna sell that on eBay as an upgrade for the Favorit and make millions. Let's test drive. Oh, the gear shift is pretty amazing. That was a nice fix. I got a tip from a good friend of the channel called Philip, who had one of these, who cut up a old soda can and put in between those bushings. This is pretty much the same that I done to fix it, but just not with a soda can. But it was a good idea. Definitely a good idea. I like those fixes that where you don't replace, you just fix and modify it a little. And now I don't know how the gear shift mechanism was when these were new, but I don't presume it was any better than this. It's very sharp. The brakes are just fine. It hasn't done that thing with it where it binds up yet. I'm just going to drive it a bit more to make sure that it's gone. But on the test drive I did previously, it happened 3 times I can remember for sure. And I'm going to drive the same test route, and then if it doesn't happen, then I presume that it's fixed. 4 times it actually happened. It also happened when I parked the car. So yeah. The heater though is still a mess. Something is happening when I put it to max, when I change between max and minimum, but it is to be ignored. It's about 5 degrees in difference, so I'm just gonna try a hard stop. Release, release. It feels fine. Oh, and the odometer is working, by the way. I forgot about that. Also fixed that. We just drove 3 kilometers and it's working. And I just need you to see this. Oh, it's so tight. That's nice. Unfortunately, Jakob and Anne is going home soon. I haven't been able to fix that heater. I'm pretty sure it needs some new parts, and taking it apart makes me a little bit nervous because it probably will break and then I can't put it back together. And of course I could just block it off, but on the other hand, it's nice to have some heat when it's cold. So yeah, but the odometer is working, the light is working, the gearbox is working. I even found a coolant leak that I fixed. Yeah, that's pretty nice. And the brakes are really nice also. I like these kinds of small jobs because one thing is it earns me some money to pay all the bills, but also I get to drive some weird cars. And as you know, I really like that. And I pretty quickly get bored with it and wants to try something else. So it's nice that it's not my own all the time. This was really fun to experience, and yeah, all there's left to say is thanks for watching and see you in the next one.